My name is Matthew Zirpolo.
My name is Derek Van Leeuwen.
My name is Anthony Tallman.
I'm the co-founder and president of Burgeon Beer Company.
And I am co-owner and director of operations.
And I'm one of the co-founders and head brewer at Burgeon Beer Company. And we've been open for a little over 2 years now. We opened in December of 2016. Just celebrated our second anniversary this past January.
Yeah, I, as well as my three partners, are all born and raised here in San Diego. I actually came from Encinitas.
I would say about 9 or 10 years ago, I got into home brewing with one of my partners, Derek. Kind of just got the bug after the first homebrew and completely got addicted and went haywire with it. And while we were going to school at Cal State San Marcos, ended up getting hired at Stone Brewing Company.
We actually started at my old business, All Star Signs. My boss was generous enough to give us about 400 square feet of the small warehouse space. And we were there every Saturday for probably about 5 years. Had well over 200 batches. Our homebrew display is still existing. It's our little water fountain in the tasting room.
So actually, I started homebrewing in college. I did enough of it to really kind of appreciate what all the professionals do. I was terrible at it, and it kind of just gave me that understanding of the basic processes and that greater appreciation for what people like Anthony and Derek do day in, day out.
Anthony and I always had the pipe dream of starting a brewery. I'd say probably 6 years after we started, we all graduated college and Matt came back from Santa Barbara. Realized the big boom in business, and we were all very hungry people and wanted to generate business, and we all found ourselves working too hard for the man in general. Figured why not do it for ourselves, and got to it.
Well, I think there's a lot of people that even start to dabble with homebrewing that have the giant dream of opening a brewery someday. So it probably started when I was in college and started homebrewing. But after that, we came back and it wasn't realistic. We didn't have the means to make it happen. So I started doing sales door to door, selling copiers. I did that for about 5 years. And then after that, while I was doing that, actually, I kind of thought about my passions and what I really enjoy in life and what I want to get out of life. And brewing was the first thing that came up. And I've been friends with Anthony and Derek since high school. So knowing Anthony and Derek have been homebrewing since pretty much high school, I reached out to them. At that time, Anthony was one of the head brewers at Stone. Derek was working operations for a graphic design company, a sign fabrication company. And I just proposed the idea of starting a brewery. What if the three of us got together? We have very different skill sets that each one of us can add something different to this equation. They showed interest, so I went out to investors right after that to gauge their interest. A lot of investors were interested in the idea. So after that, we formulated a business plan. We had a bunch of investor meetings, and 3 years later, we created Burgeon.
I worked at Stone for about 3.5 years. Kind of started, on the keg washer, cleaning and filling kegs. Moved up to assistant brewer, filter operator, and then eventually was brewing. Had an opportunity to leave to go to a startup brewery, Rough Draft Brewing Company, where I was the first brewer hired. So it was just a great experience to be, in at the ground level. I was there for about 1.5 years, and then later moved on to a brew pub in Vista called Backstreet Brewery, where I was there for about 2.5 years, basically while we were planning out this. So we have a 15-barrel brew house. We have fermenters that range from 15 barrel tanks, 30 barrel tanks, and now a 60 barrel tank with a couple more on the way. So depending on what we're brewing and what tank it's going to, we're doing, anywhere from 1 to 4 turns on the brew house in order to fill that tank. We're brewing at least 4 turns a week on the brew house, so at least 2 tanks. Really just depends. Like if we're filling the 60, then there's 4 turns in a day right there. But I would say at a minimum, we're filling like 2 tanks a week.
Right now, we've far exceeded our expectations. Before we started the brewery, we built out a pro forma. So we built that out for 5 years. And then we had what might happen in years 6, 7, and 8. And I can say today it's year 2, and we've surpassed our 8-year projections for the brewery, which is pretty incredible. So we feel very fortunate to have that kind of feedback and those responses. It's really just been a whirlwind since we opened. We feel so fortunate that everyone in the local community has been supporting us, drinking our beer and enjoying the beer. And we're just going to continue to try and escalate ourselves, brew great beer, and be on the forefront for craft beer in San Diego. This year, we're looking 4,000 to 5,000 barrels, which is pretty incredible, seeing that we started at about 1,000 and kind of worked our way up from there. Last year, we did about 3,000, and so we've been almost doubling every single year.
A big part of what we wanted to do here in the beginning was not just focus on like one specific style of beer. Granted, like you said, we brew a lot of hoppy beer. We love drinking hoppy beer, and obviously so does this beer community. But we really felt it was important to like have a total package and be able to offer hopefully everybody some sort of beer. We've done anything from like grisettes, which are kind of like low alcohol Belgian style saisons. Brown ales become one of our core beers, German pilsner. We do some bigger stouts and barrel aged beers as well, but really just kind of wanted to have like a round portfolio.
Treevana was one of our first beers that we started with. I think we brewed it about 3 to 4 months in. We came to be because we all really loved Mosaic and Amarillo. Those 2 hops were some of our favorites, and we thought, why not put them together in a beer and see what happens? And the result was just something that blew us away. We initially knew from that day forward that was going to be our flagship IPA. And fortunately, everyone else has really enjoyed it as well. The name actually Derek came up with. He was thinking kind of like the Nirvana theme, and so he kind of put the tree in there, and it kind of creates this thought of like this beautiful citrusy, piney drink is what we were going for. It's a little bit bigger in ABV. It's kind of like it's using Mosaic and Amarillo, which are kind of classic Pacific Northwest hops. So they're ready available. So that was a big part of Treevana becoming a core beer, is that we could get those hops and brew that year round. But yeah, it's gone crazy since then. We won the Sorai Cup for it last year, which was the best beer in San Diego. We're canning it like crazy, and we're just trying to create more beers like it.
Yeah, so Canopy Tour, that beer's like kind of a gray area because it's a little higher in alcohol. It's definitely lighter in body and lighter color as far as like the pale ale style goes. And then I'd also say like the bitterness level is a little bit on the higher end. So some people really call it like a small IPA. But for us, we just really wanted like a super drinkable, light-bodied pale ale. The hop focus on that one was Citra and Simcoe, so a lot of that like kind of tropical with a little bit of pine backed up in it. But yeah, the focus was to really make the body of the beer very different than Treevana, which is predominantly just 2-row and a little bit of a crystal malt. With Canopy Tour, there's no crystal malt in it. It's just a blend of 2-row and pilsner to really lighten up that body.
For the rotating hop beers, it's kind of our favorite hops that we like to use, and hops that we can get in flower, pellet, and cryo form, because the Keep It series has all one hop, but we use it in 3 different forms. So we have the whole flowers in the hop back that we knock out with. We also have the cryo and the pellets that we use in the dry hop. So it kind of gives you 3 different parts of one hop to create a really kind of, for how one-dimensional it is, it kind of gives you all aspects of that. Yeah, the nice thing about that is that using those different forms of the hop in different stages creates different variables on your tongue. You get the aroma a lot from the dry hop. You get a lot of flavor from the cryo, and you get some of that nice little mosaic bitterness from the flowers. So you kind of get every element of that hop. And I'm a big fan of all the ones we've done so far. Mosaic's probably my favorite just because I love Mosaic. If Mosaic threw a concert, I'd be the one throwing my shirt up on the stage. That's how much I love Mosaic. But the other 3 have come out really great so far. We're excited for Keep It Citra.
I've actually been a big fan of mash hopping, and so we actually use our whole leaves in the mash when we mash in. It creates a hell of an aroma on the wort standpoint, and it's different. So instead of, a lot of guys for the longest time have added first wort hops, which, you know, as you start lautering over, you add your hops at a lower temp, and it's supposed to create a smoother bitterness. And this is kind of the same effect, because you're adding the hops at a temp that's about 160, 165, you know, maybe reaching 170 through the sparge process. But you're actually adding no green matter. You're just trying to pull all the resins and stuff out of the cone. So as it transfers over, you're left with the spent hops that are, you know, at that point kind of turn brown, and end up with a wonderful aroma, and creates a great smooth bitterness. It's actually, you know, we ended up contracting a lot of these whole cones in hopes to be using a lot of hop back runs. So after knockout, or during the process of knockout, you're running over these whole cones to extract that fresh flavor as you go into the fermenter. You know, it's really hard for us to measure how efficient and what we're getting out of it, and the time it was adding to a brew day as far as setup, breakdown, cleaning, and knockout time was fairly excessive. You know, over and over and over again, you're going, okay, how many more hours am I gonna add? Am I getting anything out of it? So, you know, we found that, well, it's kind of the same idea on the front side, adding no time, adding no cleanup, getting to use the same volume, and you know, it's working for us now. We've got all these leaves we need to use, and why not use them?
So Burrell's kind of interesting because it's probably one of the only beers that we still brew or have brewed at all that kind of goes back to like our homebrew days. Brown ale is just like a favorite of Derek and mine, and, you know, loved AleSmith Nut Brown when we were, you know, just getting into brewing, and Mammoth Double Nut Brown, and so those 2 beers were basically the inspiration behind ours. And it's really, like I said, one of the only beers that we've brought in from homebrewing into, you know, Burgeon and commercially producing it. But yeah, a lot of breweries just don't have a brown ale in their lineup. You know, the amber and red ale thing kind of seemed to die quite some time ago. And, you know, it's darker and maltier, but it's not like super heavy like a stout. So for us, it's just fit really well into a lot of people's lineups.
Yeah, I mean, we were one of the first ones to do a hazy IPA in San Diego. And we chose to do that because we love experimenting with beer. We want to push the boundaries of beer. We want to do new things with beer, and the Hazy IPA was just another outlet for that. And it's really taken off since then. It's been, everyone needs a Hazy IPA now. It's not going anywhere. And yeah, there are people that kind of are the old-fashioned, they don't want to change, they don't want to brew a Hazy IPA, but Hazy IPA is no different than the West Coast IPA was 10, 20 years ago when Bagby, Carl Strauss, and all these people were pioneering it. It's just a different style, and it's a different way to brew a hoppy beer. And if it gets more people to enjoy beer, then why not? We kind of call it a gateway beer because a lot of people that don't like beer can drink this beer that tastes like tropical fruit juice, and guess what? They're craft beer drinkers now. And I think if we can convert more people to that, then we're gonna be better off as an industry.
Pistol's actually been a work in progress too. Anthony's done a really good job nailing that one down. Him and I share a very similar palate when it comes to how we like our pilsners. There's pilsner, but there's a lot of different styles of pilsner out there. We've gone through a selection of different yeast strains that we've gone through and chosen the one that we're happy with. He's sourced good ingredients. We're using true German hops, and we're actually giving the time it needs. A lot of people are trying to rush beers. We're giving it at least 6 weeks. The 6 weeks is where we feel that it's finally, cleaned up and got to the point of ready to go.
This year we're excited to actually be doing we're doing a huge philanthropic push this year. So we're going to be coming out with a beer in a couple weeks called Reclaim the Wild. That beer, with every pint sold, plants a tree in our national forest. So the first 5,000 trees of that are going to be planted up where the campfire just went through. And our goal, what we pledged to plant, was 25,000 trees over the next year. And we're working with the National Forest Foundation to do that. It's going to come out in 4-packs, and every single can will say this can plants a tree. On top of that, we're doing a lot of what we call branch outings. So we're partnering with REI this year. We're doing beach cleanup, tree planting day. We're doing a trail maintenance day. We're doing a lot of, and we're going to do just a general camping outing. So we're doing a lot to really give back this year to the local community and to just the nation with the national forests. And we just feel that we've been so fortunate to have so many people loving the beer and supporting us that we need to give back. And we've done that for a long time now, but this year we're excited to really come out with this big push and generate a lot of money and make a significant impact. So our vision for our core lineup. So right now we have Canopy and Treevana already in stores. We want a light beer, and we're thinking that's gonna be Clever Kiwi. We really like that, and I honestly think it's just kind of it's a new realm for beer, in my opinion. The dry hop Pilsner is not really done. It's gonna take some time to get some traction, but with the reception we've got from it so far, people seem to love it. It's got tons of flavor, tons of aroma, no bitterness, but you can drink it all day long. It's super crushable, it's only 5%, and it's not gonna put you on your butt like an IPA would. So I think that's just like a good all-day drinking beer. And then we also want to come out with a core hazy IPA. So that's going to be a big push for us, or should I say press, because we're going to be releasing juice press in cans here soon, and that's going to be our core hazy IPA going forward. So those 4 would be our core. It would be Clever Kiwi, Canopy Tour Pale, Treevana IPA, and then juice press hazy IPA. We feel like with those 4 we can cover good amount of people.
Literally since the first time I homebrewed, I've never had this light bulb go off and be so passionate about something, and I think just what I feel from being a brewer and being involved in making beer and drinking beer and a part of the community, that it's definitely way more than just a job that I come to and a product that I make. I really truly put my blood, sweat, and tears into it and love every minute of it. And if we hit a roadblock, then we're going to figure out how to get around it and how to make a better product or move forward from it. But it's like one of those feelings you really can't explain to anybody that hasn't ever had it. But yeah, I mean, it's something I'm super passionate about, and I think a lot of people in our industry really are. They really care about what they're making and what they're bringing to the table for people.
Absolutely. It's become almost a lifestyle for many people. There's people that aren't even involved in the industry from a working standpoint, but live and breathe it. Through either social media or just beer fests or anniversaries or pickups. I don't know if you want to call it a movement or whatnot, but it's gotten to the point where beer people recognize beer people, and people are getting deemed as beer people. From inside or outside, it doesn't matter. But they're definitely more than just a job or an industry.
Yeah, beer is much bigger than just beer itself. It's a community. It's a family. It's especially here in San Diego, we all work together so well. We share ideas, we grow as a whole, and it really creates this tight-knit community of people that are really cohesive, and it's really special. I don't know of any other industry like craft beer that really brings people together and gives us the opportunity to grow and to just support one another and support the local community as well. So that's why we're so excited to be making all these philanthropic efforts this year, and to really partner with a lot of other local companies.